hole in my pocket.
Yeah, there is a hole in that pocket.
Right.
There you go.
Have to aim towards the top of the plate. Good. I just had to aim right up high.
Yeah, and like I said, once if they put the tip of the sight just at just a little hair over the top of it.
Alrighty, so this is 7H, or Trolley Gag. I am making a series of videos to review things because I have a collection of a bunch of interesting things, and I'm pretty highly opinionated about them, and I really like to show them to you as well. So we just moved into this house, and I'm not really set up yet. The basement area where I'm filming this is kind of a mess, and because this is the first video, I wasn't really sure what my setup's going to look like, or how I'm going to film these, or what format I'm going to do these in, or what I was even going to review. So I am going to try to do a review of something that I think is going to be easy, using kind of my makeshift setup the way it is right now, and using one of my photo lights, which is hopefully enough to not annoy anybody. So for today, we're going to be looking at two Dan Wesson 744 revolvers. This one I've had for 3 years maybe. Bought it off Gunbroker. Wasn't a super amount of money, but at this time, this was before Dan Wesson was bought, or I guess not bought, but they had stopped making revolvers a while back, I guess in the early thousands or something like that. And then CZ, this is while they're under CZ's ownership, they started producing revolvers again just I guess a couple years ago. But these are, when I bought this, the only Dan Wessons were used ones. These 744s were made, this one was made I think in the mid to late 80s, and this one, which I bought just a couple weeks ago, was made in the early 1980s. I think 1980, almost on the dot by the serial numbers. Both of these guns shoot 44 Magnum, which I hand load. This is a speed loader with some probably once or twice fired brass, using Hornady XTP bullets, which you can see are very nice hollow points. This is just about as cheap as you can get a copper jacketed bullet. I didn't want to deal with cast bullets or copper washed bullets at 44 Magnum velocities, because by the time you buy copper, I didn't have a good way to store copper at least when I was living in an apartment. By the time you bought lead and then bought the copper gas checks and everything else, it is almost just as expensive just to buy a copper jacketed bullet. So that's what these are made with. They're pretty mild loads. I think they're pushing maybe 1,300 feet a second, 12 or 1,300 feet a second, somewhere in that ballpark. These are, I think, 200 and, let me see. 200 grain bullets. So back to the guns. This Dan Wesson 744 in stainless. When I bought this new, I think I paid about almost $800. It was spotless. The guy had never shot it, I don't think. Of course, since then I've put several hundred rounds through it. Functions almost impeccably. Glassy smooth. Beautiful in the hands. The action is glassy smooth. The trigger is incredible. I mean, one of the things about Dan Wesson revolvers, if you don't know, they at the time they weren't as expensive as Smith & Wesson revolvers, but they have everything that you would want in a revolver in that they are incredibly accurate. They were often used for silhouette shooting because of the tensioning system with the barrel. The barrel is held to the shroud with this barrel nut, and that is held in tension with the frame, and that caused the barrels to be very stiff and therefore very accurate. On top of that, you can see there's quite a large chunk of metal. That metal makes these revolvers very strong, and happenstance, they took a lot of pride in these revolvers, especially these two, which are Monson Mass made, the I guess the headquarters or the home location of Dan Wesson. And their triggers are incredible. They have some of the best triggers of any revolver. I mean, people really glorified the Smith & Wessons, but these triggers are at least as good as the Smith & Wesson triggers, and they come in a revolver as strong as the Ruger Redhawks. So you've got a strong revolver, a smooth revolver, beautiful revolver, pretty much the complete package. Both of these revolvers have aftermarket grips made by Hogue. This one is rosewood with the end cap. This is Chocobolo that I'd originally gotten for this revolver, but when I got the new Dan, these grips were perfect for it. But back to where I was. The guy had hardly fired this gun. I've put a lot of rounds to it. The only thing you have to deal with Dan Wesson revolvers is that as you shoot them, the barrel will tend to move a bit. So every few hundred rounds, what will end up happening is that the barrel, this is the barrel here, also acts like a forcing cone, will actually push out a little bit. It'll either open up and cause the revolver to spit a little bit, or it will come towards the cylinder face and it will start scrubbing. And at that point, the trigger will get a lot heavier and you'll have to adjust it. Another feature about these revolvers, which I forgot to mention before, is that the revolvers have a ball bearing here behind a spring, or in front of a spring, and that helps keep these revolvers from developing in-shake problems, because when they're fired, they're kept under tension. You can actually move them a little bit. They're actually kept under tension up against the cylinder face, and so they don't end up slamming back against the rear of the frame and keep from stretching the frame of the revolver or anything. So that's another very strong and reliable, dependable design choice that Dan Wesson made with these revolvers. So as I was talking about before, they have a barrel nut which you can remove to change out. Let me see if you can get a good view of that. Alright. Focus, maybe focus. It's right up in there. Right up in there. And you can actually take that barrel nut off, slide the shroud completely off the gun, and when you take the shroud off, You can adjust the barrel. You can put on different shrouds. You can install new pieces of hardware. Normally this gun has a compensator on the end and some shims to time the compensator. And the biggest reason I did that was because it was awesome to not only shoot a giant fireball out of either side of the cylinder, but also out of the compensator like a freight train, two big prongs of flame. So that's why I did that. So that's my Dan Wesson in stainless, 744 in stainless. This is my Dan Wesson in same chambering, same 44 Magnum, but it's blued. And this guy also did not shoot his gun very much. There's some small differences. You'll notice that the cylinder score mark, cylinder ring, I'm not sure what it's called, on this one wiggles a little bit, whereas it doesn't on this, on my stainless one. I'm not entirely sure why that is, but the cylinder locks up. It may be because there's a little bit more play, and probably because he shot this one a little bit more, but that's okay. It shoots well. I noticed when I tried to take the shroud off and adjust the barrel, the cylinder gap, he had Loctited it or something so that it wouldn't actually come out of the shroud. I hammered on it trying to get it off the barrel and it would not come off. So I don't think this one's ever going to be adjusted. It was pretty wide, but that's okay if it's not moving. It's not spitting or anything, so that's good. As you see, they're very nice looking guns. The bluings are deep. Fabulous guns. This one actually has a better trigger than the other one does. Click. Click. Very nice. Very nice guns. So if you have a chance to buy... Oh, I should also mention. This one I paid close to $800 for. Stainless. It's during the gun scare. Probably one of the gun scares. It was kind of expensive. This one I found on consignment at a local gun shop. I told Brittany, my now wife, that if I were to find a Dan Wesson in a gun shop, I was going to buy it, period. That was going to happen. And Dad texted me a picture of this gun, and the day before we left on vacation for Jackson Hole, I hauled butt over to Front Royal from where I am in Warrenton. Went into the gun shop right before they closed, picked it up, looked it over, and signed my name, and did background checks, and bought it, because this gun was $500, which is a solid $300 less than this gun, and I think this gun is worth just as much. In fact, you can find these on Gunbroker for about $700 or $750, and they actually have this one marked incorrectly. This gun, they had marked as a Dan Wesson 741, which is a 41 Magnum, and I was kind of excited about it. But then when I got it home, looked it over real carefully, it's definitely 744, which is okay, because I already have all the reloading supplies to make ammo for 44 Magnum, and it is ammo compatible with my other gun. So, fantastic, fantastic revolvers. If you have a chance to buy one of these in 44 Magnum or 357 Magnum or any of the super calibers or anything like that, especially the pistol packs, or any of the barrel links, get one, because this will become one of the treasures in your safe. I guarantee it. More so than a Smith will, more so than a Ruger will, definitely more so than a Taurus, which is, you know, this is basically the same price as some of those Taurus revolvers, and this is a fine firearm. And I treasure these as much as I would treasure a Colt Anaconda or a Colt Python, and these will last longer than those guns will. So, that's that. Leave some comments on how I did, like, subscribe, please, and give me some feedback, because I'd love to make more videos. I need to get my technique down. I need to get more confident speaking, probably, and man, I've got a lot to talk about. So I'll see you later, and goodbye and thank you.